Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on December 11th, 2022 at approximately 4:29 p.m. PST. Well, thank you so much for joining me. The last couple of days have been absolutely bizarre. But, Chad, how you doing? I'm going to answer the same thing to you I did just in your messenger message there. I will answer what you asked there in detail once I get done the show. It's just I only literally got in here just now. But I will say thank you very much for the offer. I looked at it yesterday and I'm thinking, I was thinking we got pretty decent headway. Oh, by the way, I do like the way it's been put in other places. Looks like you got the gold today there, Chad. The reality of it from my standpoint is it is absolutely imperative that we look at priorities and boundaries. But the biggest question that seems to come to mind in most people is how do you attain the apparently unattainable goals that virtually everybody has? In case you're wondering, I'm just trying to get my other screen up here so I can see. But I spent too much time on my leg. Joe, how we doing? And you've got the silver. And what am I looking for here? Just trying to make sure that I can see what I'm reading. Things quite set. So, as per usual, still a work in progress. But working on it. Okay, look at that. And it's already here. That's convenient. Don't know how I managed to luck out with that one, but where are we here? Come on. And Cliff, you got the bronze. The reality of it is, like we made a lot of headway yesterday, but how do you go about attaining those seemingly unattainable goals? Whether we are talking about in your life, in your career, in your relationship, in your Dungeons and Dragons campaign, in your writing, in your financial world. How do you go about getting it? Well, the short answer is one step at a time. Now, of course, I'm not going to be getting up and walking around a whole lot right now because my leg is frankly still just absolutely killing me. But as I discussed with some people yesterday, I finally found out what was causing the problem. Now it's just a question of healing it. So painkillers are being spread out further and further. Again, now, when I'm talking about attaining the seemingly unattainable goals, right now I'm working with weights that are 5 pounds, roughly. Okay, 5 pounds or about 3 kilos, depending on who you talk to. Myself, I deal in pounds. Much as I'm Canadian, it's all listed in kilos up here. Never added up for me. But we start with the obvious. 4 words. Okay. I am worth it. Now, as I've said, I call myself a spiritual guide because the tools I offer people are the exact same tools I personally use in order to change my own life. And the philosophies of life that I talk about are the philosophies I personally live by. These are also the same tools I've been offering to people, well, in all fairness, for 40 years now. 50 years, my apologies. I actually started doing this kind of work when I was 10. Okay, so 49 years. Let's settle for that. YJ, how you doing? Glad you got here. Okay, and YJ pulls in the running at honorable mention. Now, do understand These are simply titles. Okay. And this is, the reality is it doesn't matter where you stand in life. Every single one of us is standing in exactly the same place. Okay. Every single one of us. We are right here, right now. Now, I came back to this world for one primary reason. Okay, I was born into this lifetime to spread one simple message that, that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, the odd reality of it is this. Whether you believe something is possible or impossible, either way, you're inevitably going to prove yourself right. I like the way the American military puts it. The difficult we're already doing, the impossible simply takes us a little longer. But it's invariably just like everybody from every walk in life. Okay. Every one of you, no matter what your background, no matter what your current station in life, walking forward is done the same way. One step in front of the other. You do not jump from no income on the whole to an absolute staggering income. Okay. A year ago, I started at 246 pounds. I am now down 50 pounds under what I was. I'm still working on it. Okay. And the reality of it is, okay, I get a kick out of this one. Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy and abide by community guidelines. Well, I absolutely agree with abide by community guidelines. But hiding your privacy seems to be a little bit, shall we say, overstated if you're striving to build a station. Now, I forgot to check one thing, and I should have checked it before I brought this on, so I'll just open another tab. Because it does, when you're striving to build a station, as many of you are fully aware, okay, the numbers do matter. Now, in all fairness, the biggest issue from my standpoint, is not the numbers only apply from the standpoint of there is a certain break point. Yeah, we're sitting at 331. Hopefully that will change. Okay. Yeah. Now, when you're aiming at attaining any goal, even if it seems unattainable, couple of tools that can work extremely well no matter what field you're working on. Okay, a dream board is an overall picture. Okay, for instance, if you're looking at building a house or at buying a house, okay, you draw a picture as detailed as or as undetailed without an address. You can go as far as simple as draw a rectangle and on the rectangle write, I own my own home. Okay, do not put an address. Okay, if you're looking for a new car, if you're aiming to buy a new car, again, a picture of a car that you're looking for without the VIN number. Okay, not the VIN number, not the license. Okay, but put a picture up on your dream board. It gives you an idea of what you're aiming at. Okay, the same thing when it comes to goals that you've got. Okay, if you're aiming at getting your relationship back on track, okay, and a shall we say stylized heart if you're dealing with a specific person, okay, if you're dealing with a specific person, then absolutely use a name. For instance, if you're in a stable relationship, or at least a relationship you'd like to be stable, write down the person, both names, inside the heart, simply to stylize and stabilize the relationship in a pictographical form. Okay, when you're looking at writing, okay, and I gotta go back to this. Travis, how you doing? Glad you can make it. When you're looking at writing and running a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, at simply laying out a change in the world that you've got, okay, it's imperative to get an idea as to what the outcome is you're seeking. For instance, if you've got shelves that you desire cleared, okay, you can always take a picture of the shelves. Okay, I'm just reading what you've written here, YJ. Ultimately, that is correct. You know what you've got to have. Now, in the case of a down payment, you've got to have 30%. So the trick there is figure out what price, and the fact it's clear land is absolutely fantastic, because what you're actually looking for is, and I got told this by a millionaire, by the way. He says, what you buy property for is privacy. So all you really require, at least in his eyes, was simply an issue of have the land, have the property the right size so that you can put a small manageable house on it. I don't know about you, but anything over 1,000 square feet, now bear in mind, I have my bedroom, my 17-year-old son's bedroom, and an office, and the normal, living room, dining room, kitchen type thing. Okay, 1,000 square feet for me is working beautifully. I don't like housework, by the way. Okay, so when you go with the 30%, figure out how much property, how much, what your dollar value is that you're willing to pay for the property itself. Okay, now at 30%, you're looking at $30,000 for every 100,000. Okay, that said, it is imperative that you get a target number down. And then you take a look at it, and everything you can sink into it without shorting yourself on the rest of your world. Absolutely. Take it one step at a time. Put every cent you can into it. Okay. Very important in order to move forward. Okay. When you're looking at... Nice. And there's the neat little part. And here's just something to consider where it comes to property there, YJ. And this is anybody that's out there looking at property as compared to a vehicle. The fifth wheel is bought and paid for. No matter what happens at this point, you don't own a plug nickel on it. Okay, they don't charge you tax. They may charge you for where you park it, but the fifth wheel itself is yours. Okay. I'm guessing you're referring to a solar-powered system to run your house. Okay, at this point to run the fifth wheel. But the thing I was looking at is this. You own the fifth wheel. Okay. Now, with that in mind... Oh, I'm a little slow. You've got the fifth wheel bought and paid for. You're buying an empty piece of property. That means when you buy the property, okay, when you buy the property, you'll have land taxes. Clearly, divide that by 12, okay, and you all of a sudden have the entirety of your expenses, because the property, simply put, unless you are no longer paying land taxes on it. Sandra, how you doing? Long time no see. Glad you could join us. Unless you are no longer paying taxes on your property, essentially, yes, it's yours. The title goes to you. But the reality is you're still renting the property, at least in my eyes. You're still paying, you're still paying an annual thing. Okay. So, and that's not bad. because the taxes aren't much, but you're set up really, really nicely. Okay. Yeah, I managed. Nightmare, how you doing? I was quite surprised there, Sandra. I made it in here live today. But, the property, you're just about set up perfectly. And again, like I used to have, Nylock, how you doing? I'm working things out myself, right? Am I absolutely in perfect shape? No. But I did figure out a few things that were rather critical. And again, I used to know a lady that what she'd do is she would whittle whatever she desired to buy and to purchase, any big ticket item at all. And within a year of finishing that whittling job, she would have that item purchased. Now, to me, that was a little overboard. That's exactly the same outlook I've got there, YJ. The taxes don't bother me because I don't know about you, much as I don't drive much, but I like being able to drive on paved roads. I like having traffic lights that stop people from running, that at least hinder people from running into each other. To me, this is just part and parcel of living in a community. I like the fact that when a fire breaks out, somebody's there to come in and deal with it. But the dream board itself gives you an overall picture. Okay. The trick with the list is you take a look at your dream board and you break it down. Each one of those goals on your dream board, break it down into smaller 15-minute to half-hour tasks where possible. Okay. That will enable you to stay on track and get things done. And show you and prove to yourself in a quantifiable fashion that you are in fact making headway. Now, for me, it was pretty cut and dried. Okay, all of us are in exactly the same boat. How you got to where you are does not matter. It doesn't make any difference how you got here. Okay, because the reality is we're all in the same boat from that end. Everybody has a past. Everybody has the potential to have a phenomenal future. Now, you'd be amazed maybe not, how many posts or offers I get from people, emails that say, hey, use this financial body, it'll make you millions. Bad news. From what I've seen, some people make money at it, absolutely. But finding shortcuts doesn't teach you much. And I tell you, I'm living proof of it. The beginning of 2022, okay, I ended up with my mom's estate clearing. Okay, the money I got from that, yes, it paid off everything I had, etc., etc. Problem, didn't learn much. Okay, however, this time when my brother's estate clears in the next 3 to 6 months, I'll be in better shape. Yeah, ultimately, I mean, you got cheaper there. See, when I got taken in by ambulance for my heart attack, YJ's just saying he paid $50 to get his daughter to the hospital. I paid $80 when I had a heart attack. And again, I don't mind. Okay, simply because the company has to be paid, and whether it's paid out of my pocket because, well, frankly, I'm using it. And I did manage to come home alive. It was funny when I had my heart attack. Well, I thought it was. I was rather on the gray side, and they put me on the gurney and then put me in the car. And I looked in the ambulance, and I looked at the ambulance driver, and I says, "You're going to sit me up right now, or you get to clean up the ambulance." And he smiled, he looks at me, and he goes, "Oh, problem with motion sickness, eh?" And he says, "Well, technically, yes. But yeah, I absolutely, you move this vehicle with me like this, I'm throwing up." He goes, "No problem. We'll just sit you up a bit." really genuinely, genuinely nice person. I have no idea what his name was. And in all fairness, when I was on the show last night, let me see if I can do this just because I'm that way inclined. Go back down into here. Let us see. I was on Nathan's show last night. Okay, and while I was there, like I told him, we have a lot of fun on that show, and sooner or later we'll get things balanced around. But with that in mind, this is the link to Nathan's show. As a matter of fact, I'm going to find the one because I do feel if I'm going to go on to these shows, whoa, bad idea. Just about hung up on you guys, which would have been a problem. That was Nathan's show. And come to think of it, I'm going to see if I can somehow find Dave's show. Okay. No idea if I'm going to manage it, but I'm going to see what I can do. Let us see, because I hopefully will be able to find it. Yeah, I know I'm not supposed to be silent here, but brain's on hold. Okay. Where are we? Hopefully that shows me what I'm looking for. I don't know if it will. No, that won't do it. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys to do me a favor, one of you guys, so I don't waste a whole lot of time looking through this. Okay, but if somebody out there would be kind enough, hey, Grandma, whoa. Hey, Grandmaster, how you doing? Glad you could make it. Got a favor to ask you guys. If somebody can find me the link today, the general link to Dave Scott's show, Spaced Out Radio, that would be really appreciated. Because what I've decided is I'm going to put a file together so I can actually do this. But the shows that I end up on, it's only fair that I just, that I actually promote them as well. Because Lord knows, the more we work together, and again, the message I came here to, oh, well, that does create a problem there, Nightmare. I do appreciate that. And with that in mind, there's a whole pile of ways of getting a hold of me. If somebody would be kind enough, whether you manage it for today or whether you manage it for later. Okay. And I haven't talked to Dave in a while, but if I can get a hold of Dave Scott's link to his primary, to his basic show line, I would love to have it. Because like I said, I came here to spread one simple message. Working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, yes, I've got a very small channel right now, extremely small. Okay. And the reality is that doesn't make me any less important than anybody else. If you've got a small channel, I was actually surprised with Nathan. Got on the show last night and he looks at it, he goes, I've got 15 people here. I'm like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? He says, I usually only have 5 or 6. Now, the way I figure it, if I can help him grow his channel, Karmic Law, I only follow 3 of them. Okay. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Well, if I'm going to build something here and I'm getting assistance from other people and encouragement from other people, such as you guys, then absolutely my spreading the word, spreading the link and saying, hey, here's a show. It was good enough. I liked it well enough to go on it. Okay. It's only fair that I put out the link to let other people know about it. Now, does this mean some of you may go to another link, to another show and not return here? Absolutely possible. Okay. The reality is we have to start putting the negative sides behind us. Thank you so much there. I do appreciate that, Nightmare. The reality of it is, from my standpoint, okay. I'm just going to test that out and see if that works. Not that I'm questioning it from that standpoint. Okay, so much as just seeing if I've got the link hot. Because I figure if it works for me, it should. Well, that did not work the way I wanted it. What did I do wrong? Oh, that's what I did wrong. I gotta be in YouTube first, you genius. Keep telling you, technology and I do not make headway together very well. That's just the reality. I find it really annoying that I have this much trouble with it, but Nightmare, you're an absolute godsend here. And that does what I require. Thank you so much. So we just pop that back in. I understand what you said about the mod, that the mods are the only people that can. I have days with technology, but usually those days are spent crashed. But the reality is, in all fairness, I've been on other shows that I just cannot promote anymore. Not because they're bad, but because they're dead. Like they don't run. But when you're looking at attaining the apparently unattainable, breaking your goals down into 15-minute to half-hour jobs, okay, or breaking them down into smaller steps is absolutely critical. Okay. Unfortunately, the books I was planning on having out for Christmas, I'm just flat out not going to make it. Part of that was because I ended up, frankly, spending about 2 months fighting depression because a company that I trusted to do the job they said they would did not. So now I'm looking at it going, okay, I've got my head on straight. I know exactly what I'm aiming for. Now, understand, anything I do, you can do the same thing. I am not perfect. Have you ever assumed that I'm perfect? That would be your problem. No, I'm not subtle about it. Well, that unfortunately, scam calls, I'm finally figuring out what to do with. They're a lot of fun. Sometimes. But yeah, phone calls, most of the time, and this is why I tell people, if you're planning on phoning me, absolutely do so. But if you haven't texted me and told me you're calling, the odds are, if it's an unknown number, I'm not likely to answer the phone for a lot of reasons. Although I have discovered, even if it's unknown, I'm very good at hanging up. But I find this same behavior from companies that claim to be absolutely above board. When you check into them, they've got all the apparent credentials and what have you, and all the apparent records. Doesn't mean they'll do a thing for you, it would seem, unless you're already a bigger company. Okay, now I clearly am not. But when it comes to getting things sorted around, okay, when it comes to attaining the seemingly unattainable goals, by breaking them down. Now, I'm in the middle of tying off. I'm in the middle of tying off um, the Return to Paradise, the third book in a trilogy. Now, the important factor for me with that particular book is it finishes off a trilogy completely. Okay. At that point, I will be very happy with myself. Okay. I've still got a whole pile of other books already on the go. But the entire Yldrbacian saga is necessary. Now, looking at it, I've got to get it completed. Okay, now here's the thing. Okay, while I am writing it, I ran into a problem with finances. So, yeah, that was my own stupidity. Like I said, I had a windfall, and as has been proven so many times in the past. Greetings, Ozzy. Glad you could make it. As has been proven so many times in the past, the massive majority of people, myself included, sadly enough, when you have a windfall, within 3 years, people are usually in worse shape than they were before they got the windfall. Okay. Now, I have a tendency of really getting focused at this point of saying, hey, I made a mistake. I'm not now the first time it's a mistake. Okay. Once you know better and you do it anyway, it's called stupidity, at least in my eyes. So what I'm looking at this point is, okay, I put myself pretty much back where I was. Okay. Right back to this issue of I don't have rent for the end of the month. But, okay, I've got enough money coming in, it will be there. But that's the way I've lived for 40 years. But the commitment I made to myself, and this is something to really pay attention to. Okay, this is something very important to pay attention to, especially for you, YJ. You're at a position now that many people only dream of. You've already got the solar power set up. You've already got a home. Okay, and you're about to have the property. This is a dream for most people. For me, it would be a nightmare. Okay, I got no skill, and I've tried developing it, but I do not seem to have a propensity for the trades work, and I mean any of it, auto mechanics or computer. So I am better off renting in a place where I just sit here and go, I pay my rent. If I have a problem, phone my landlord. Problem solved. Okay. But where it comes to the issue of attaining those goals, I have 31 chapters in Return to Paradise. So I went, okay, now I go through them one chapter at a time at an average of 5 pages a day. And I will have the thing fully edited by the end of winter, by spring. Now, while I am doing that, another critical goal for me, because it's not going to make it out for Christmas. And for those of you that are hoping it's going to come out for Christmas, isn't going to happen. Can't do anything about it. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. But Races of the Worlds, I will have it finished with the pictures involved. And then I will be able, as I've said multiple times before, I will be able to turn around and take that and take that book. And if you've already bought a copy, I will be sending you a copy with the pictures and a little added information free of charge to you. And I'm just going to send it to you, assuming you desire the one with the pictures going with it. And I know I've heard from many people that have said, yeah, I absolutely want to make sure I get it. So I've got 31 pages, or 31 chapters rather. And I will be going through them one chapter at a time, making sure I do everything. Then I call in my editor. Okay. And talk about a picky editor. She looks for space for extra spaces at the end of a line, not enough spaces at the beginning of a paragraph, and on top of duplicate words or inconsistencies, i.e., we had this person's name here, and here's another, here's the same person, but we got the wrong name. So we are wiping out all of that. Okay, this is what the editing is for, to make sure it is complete. That's the reason I keep it. And just for those of you that are just joining us and may not have seen it, this is the book that we're referring to. 59 different races that I've personally dealt with. Okay, I've got volume 2 coming out that I'm also working on, but volume 1 will be completed with the pictures first. Okay, but I'm going through them one chapter at a time, and based on 5 pages a day, which means tonight when I get finished this video, I will turn around and get my 5 pages done by following that path. And that's not much. Okay, because all I'm doing is reading through it, double checking, and adding a few things where I have to. Okay, but it boils down to one step at a time. Where it comes to finances, pick a level that you require. Now, here's the thing about finances. As long as you're spending less than what you're earning, your finances are going to climb. Okay, do not forget to take into consideration the cost of your bank. Okay, service charges, the actual fees for the bank. These are part of your expenses that you've got to take into consideration. And just a word of warning. I've talked to financial advisors in the bank. I certainly recommend them, but keep in mind, if you're talking to somebody in a bank about your finances, understand their priority is making the bank money. Okay, if you can find somebody, and whether it's a friend or a stranger, that knows how to make money work, okay, that has no vested interest in what your money does, this is a much better setup. But it's got to be somebody you trust. Okay, it's absolutely got to be somebody you trust. So we take things one step at a time. Now, the reason the list, don't need that there. The reason the list works is because by writing it down to 15-minute to half-hour jobs, what do I got here? Book 12, 5-page. Okay, by writing it down to 15-minute to half-hour jobs, when you check them all, you write one down first, but get 3 on your list to start with. Okay, when you get one finished, check it off and add a third one to the bottom of the list. The reason for that, how are we doing, football? Glad you can make it. The reason we do that is to absolutely ensure that you have a quantifiable measurement that says, I got these things done. Okay, now sometimes you'll get only 5 things done in a day. But here's the biggest issue of it. Okay. Keep grabbing the wrong one. This book here is the backbone of how I turned my life around. Okay. Now, if we take something out of this book, believe in yourself and follow your dreams. Okay. I found out something really neat. And this is something I've been telling people for literally 40 years now. Okay. Let's take a look at your living room. Okay. In your living room, let's say to clean it top to bottom, dusting, vacuuming, all of it, is going to take you 2 hours. If you go on your list and you say, I've got to get my living room cleaned. So I set aside this 2-hour block. Okay. Now, the odds are you're going to get called away before you get finished. So what happens is you get called away, you come back, the living room's not done. So you look at it going, I didn't get anything accomplished. Okay. And now you have to find another 2 hour block. Okay. But here's the reality. If you break it down into 15-minute to half-hour jobs, like for instance, clear the stuff off the furniture, clear the coffee table. Okay. Clear this section of the floor. Okay. By doing that, you'll get something done. Let's say you get the coffee table cleared. Okay. And you get called away. When you come back, number one, the coffee table is already clear. So you don't have to have that. You're down to 142, an hour and 45 minutes time that you've got to find. But you still feel like you got something accomplished. Kind of an important factor. Now, the most challenging thing for anybody, okay, from anything I've seen, the most challenging task for anybody is getting out of bed. Okay, and a very strong recommendation to lead you to success. Okay, to pave the way to attain the unattainable. Okay, is to put one foot in front of the other. As soon as you wake up, stay in bed long enough for your eyes to focus. Okay, if you happen to be blind, stay in bed for long enough for your ears to focus. Because I'll tell you, if you're blind and you're crawling and you're in bed, your eyes will take forever and a day to focus. But you stay until they focus enough that you can function. Get out of bed, go to the washroom, do what you have to do in the morning. Okay. How you doing, Dogface? Haven't seen you for a while, but really glad you made it. Get what you have to do in the morning, come back. Get dressed, get your bed made, or the other way around. That's your call. Finish getting your bedroom sorted around. Okay. Then head up front. And here's why. The most annoying job, at least when I was growing up, it certainly was. The most annoying job to ever do was make my own bed. Still not overly impressed with it, by the way. But by doing that first thing in the morning, first off, you've overcome the most difficult obstacle you'll ever face in life. Okay, that obstacle being your own stubborn disposition and your potential tendency to procrastinate. Okay, but you start off by beating those, by overcoming them. Okay. Honestly, Joe, I really did. Years ago, I had a friend. Now, if you're asking me, did I actually see a body get up and move? No. Okay, I actually saw a ghost get up and leave. A friend of mine had asked if we could, he said, I've heard weird things happen around you. I want to have some sort of a quantifiable experience. So I said, okay, let's go down to the graveyard, down to the graveyard. There was one close by me at the time. I said, we'll go down there. It's a full moon. Let's go sit down. Right. And I'm sitting there with him. It's absolutely quiet. Beautiful summer night. Right. Full moon, clear skies, clear stars. And we're sitting there quietly. Right. And all of a sudden, my buddy points at this one tomb and goes, "Did you see that?" And I looked at him and I said, "Yep." I said, "I'm presuming you're referring to the guy that just got out of that graveyard, out of that grave, and walked three graves over, and went and climbed into that grave." He goes, "You saw that?" I says, "Good point." To me, this was just normal, but for him, it was absolutely the thing he required. The corroboration that what he thought he was seeing was really there. Okay. It's also what gave me the idea that the dead, you can put them in the gravesite if you'd like. Okay. Absolutely. The body's got to go someplace. They're not going to stay put. Graveyards are extremely active And if you know the people you're dealing with, I think that's rude. You really shouldn't cook Barbie. But that's just my thought. The beer, from my standpoint, I can work with it. I drink beer now and then. Well, now and then. When was the last time I had a beer? I really don't recall. It's been years. But then I only drink, twice, maybe 3 times a year. Once at Christmas, once at New Year's, and once every few years on July 27th, which is my father's, my now deceased father's birthday. But the reality of it is there's absolutely nothing wrong. And way too many people think, oh, alcohol is a bad thing. No, all things in moderation. Okay, Christmas time is a fantastic time for celebrating. I mean, realistically, any time is. But it does seem that Christmas itself, no matter whether you believe in Santa Claus, believe in Christ, doesn't matter. You can pray to a light bulb for all it matters. But across the globe, it does seem that people try and be a little nicer. The qualifier there, Joe, of do I get brain fog at all? Once in a while, yes, but on the whole, no. Unless we count brain fog when I turn around and go, where did I put my coffee cup? Now you got to realize I got a coffee cup this size. I keep losing track of where I put the thing. Which is kind of annoying, but no, in all fairness, I really don't suffer from brain fog. This is one of the reasons why when I was writing, I was working on the tail end of the Return to Paradise. And I got it finished the way I desire it to finish. Okay, and the way I wrote it, it feeds you right back to book 1 in the saga. Like it just directly goes, here's where you are in the end of the saga. Now go back to the beginning to find out the rest of it. But the unexpected side effect, now bear in mind, I will have the entire saga written before I start another series of novels. Okay, and rest assured, the order the next 2 books are going to come out in will be, in all fairness, I should bite my tongue on that. Either it's going to be the Return to Paradise or the second printing of Races of the Worlds, depending on which one actually falls into time first. I'm just reading here. YJ wrote, I get brain fog all the time. Fibromyalgia. It's always when I have overstimulation, like when I'm doing one thing while someone is asking me questions, while the dog is barking and then something else. YJ, I really cannot relate to that at all. Okay, I understand it, don't get me wrong, and I do feel for you. But I write 12 books at the same time while I'm carrying on 3 different conversations. Okay, now granted, I only carry on 1 conversation verbally at a time because, well, frankly, it has its own complications. But, for me, that's just plain normal. Like, I will be doing my work. I work online. And I will do my work, and I'll still be doing other things around the office while I'm dealing with it. But then I'm able to focus on way too many things. The idea of only focusing on one is really kind of problematic. The reason I focus on this one right now is because it's much better to stay sitting down and talking directly to you as best I can. But you'll notice I keep looking around. Now, I'm just looking at this, and what do we got here? Yeah. And, of course, Dogface here goes, I believe in good times with the ones you love, because before long, either they'll be gone or you will. Absolutely. Primary point, in fact. Okay. I had a falling out with my parents. Okay, years ago, I did not do the wise thing. And this is why I encourage people, if you've had a falling out with a member of your family or with a good friend, absolutely reach out and strive to put that back together. Because I'm in a position where I didn't do that. And now there is no way to rebuild that relationship because both my parents are now deceased. Okay, that is the biggest thing there. So I mean, it's absolutely imperative. Again, it's one step at a time, and something to keep in mind where communication is concerned. In all the years I've been doing this, okay, I have dealt with a lot of communication problems with people. But here's the reality. People keep going, it's your fault the communication fell apart. My ex, my other half quit talking to me. That's what caused the problem. In no circumstance. This is one of those few times where I will look at it and tell you 100% of the time when I see a communication problem happening. Okay, when I see a complication happening with communication, 100% of the time, it has been a 50-50 problem. Now, it may be a misunderstanding. It may be unknowing what was where the problem was. Okay, but people run into that problem. Okay, and what you have to realize is where it comes to any communication. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I asked them a question, and they gave me a really bizarre answer. Well, the question I asked them was quite literally, do you believe that in your belief, did your creator create everything? And his answer was, well, I believe that he sent down other people to help. I said, well, that's fantastic, but sadly, it didn't answer the question at all. And this is where I have gotten very good at drawing a line. I'll ask somebody a question. They'll answer it with some information. But if it didn't answer the question, I won't move forward. Now, that may be rude in some people's opinion. Okay. But from my standpoint, it's a case of, I asked this question. That's the one I need the answer to. Okay. Same as if you ask me a question. I do my best to give you a straightforward answer. Somebody sent me a YouTube video, and I forget who it was that sent it. Okay, but it had to do with a black hole. Okay, and I don't know what they were trying to. Not a black hole, rather a wormhole. They sent me the video, and it must have been good, because when I went to access it, okay, quite frankly, it was the following day. The video showed up in my email, and the following day I went to access it to look at it. It had already been removed. Okay. So, I do try and look at videos, and I told whoever it was, I would take a look at the video and absolutely get back to them on it. I was planning on telling them yesterday, but the video's gone. Okay. See, the neat thing there, dog face, sometimes communication doesn't happen the way you're expecting. And many people don't communicate in the same fashion. This is one of the biggest problems that people have. I was talking to somebody the other day. On the whole, men tend to think in logical terms. They tend to process in a logical sequence. Women, on the whole, are more inclined to work on a creative or instinctive sequence. Okay. Now, this is on the whole. There are exceptions in every single rule. Every rule I've ever seen, there are exceptions, except one set. Those 3 laws that I was talking about. That is the one exception. I've never seen it. I've never found one. I'm still looking for it. For any law that fits and that does not fit inside those three. And this is why I say absolutely, if you find one or if you know one that does not fit inside those three laws, absolutely do me a favor and ask. Okay. Now, it boils down to pick anything at all that you feel is unattainable. Doesn't matter what it is. I will tell you a few things that are pretty short on the likelihood list. Okay. As in, oh, I think I can fly without an aircraft. If we take into consideration that astral travel works, then yeah, there's all sorts of ways of doing it. But physically speaking, much as I am certain, much as I am certain that all things are possible, I'm not even willing to bet on my life that I can step off of a 12-story building and not hit the concrete. Well, I might hit the lawn, but I'm not about to aim at forensic. How you doing? Glad you made it. I'm not even secure enough in my own belief structure, okay, to step off a 12-story building and arrive, and fly. Now, I do have memories that my father did specifically corroborate on his deathbed that when I was a child, I used to physically fly. Startled the heck out of him and mom. Right, but they're both dead, so you're going to have to just take my word for it and run with it. Or don't. But take any goal at all that you're not content with. Okay. Frantic, I realize you put it Cassie, which is great. But don't be surprised if I don't remember your name. The reason being my memory for names, it's getting better. But unfortunately, it's about yay long. And that's an overextension. I've got the same problem there, Joe. I don't live with my parents because, well, frankly, they're in an urn in some room somewhere. Okay, but for me, it's never a question of am I going to put my foot in my mouth? It's a question of how am I going to get the other one in there with it? For me, it really boils down to I simply shoot from the hip. It's something that everybody seems to, and that most people have to say. Hello there, Forensic. I am glad you made it tonight. The reality of it is I always look at it and go, I know I'm going to put my foot in my mouth, even when I've got a goal in mind. So right now, here's the way it works. Right now, these are just some of the goals, and I do encourage you guys. Absolutely, I'm doing this myself. As a matter of fact, I might just as well do it while I'm at it. For 2022, now or not 2022, there's a good idea. For 2023, okay, I strongly recommend pick 12 major goals to accomplish before the end of 2023. Now, the reason I say 12 is because from a universal, and I'll just call it universal numerology, because I work with base 12. Okay. So 12 itself is the number of ultimate wisdom. Okay, so you pick 12 to accomplish before the end of 2023. Okay, now you pick those 12 that you desire. Do not worry about what other people think you should do. Okay, really not a necessity. Worrying about anybody that says you should do this, first and foremost, that's their opinion of what's best for you. It may not be what fits for others. It may not be what you feel is right. Spooky, welcome aboard. Glad you could make it. So the goals that I'm aiming at, and I'm telling you this partially to give you an immediate example. Okay, so I will have book 12 will be in print. I will have Races of the Worlds Volume 1, the second edition out. That's the one that will have the pictures in it and have a little bit of extra information. Okay, so Races of the World, races, and it would be nice if I could actually speak, if I could actually think. You know, I used to be able to write with my left hand. That's one of the things I am going to be working on, by the way. So we have second edition will be out. I am going to get down to the 180-pound mark. Okay, right now I'm at 193. Okay, I was at 193.4 this morning. And here's the thing. Last year I said I was going to get below 200 before the end of 2022. Well, we haven't hit the end, and I made it. But and the thing is, just writing these goals down is not going to make it happen. Okay. You know, the reality of it is you make the goal list. Okay. I'm also going to get right now, big weight. Like I am absolutely so strong. You notice the dripping sarcasm? Okay. I'm working with a 5-pound weight right now. Okay. But I absolutely intend, and I'm giving myself lots of room. Okay. So I am simply looking at it going, I've got to get my strength up where I'm at least able by the end. And when I'm talking about being able to curl, I'm pretty certain everybody knows what that is. Okay. But when I talk about a weight, that's it. Not what I consider strong. Okay. But I'm starting with 5 pounds because I haven't exercised in quite seriously decades. Okay. So I have here, I'm just writing it down here. I am looking at a 25-pound curl. Okay. Now, the reality of that is as I increase my strength, my weight is also going to come up, but I'm bound and determined to eliminate the excess. Okay. Now there's 4 of the goals I've got right off the bat. Okay. Number 5 on my list is debt-free. Now, I already reached that once this year and then blew the bottom out of it when I bought myself a car. Okay, but I will be wiping out that debt. Okay, so the 5th goal, and this is just right off the top of my head. As you can tell, not fully healed yet. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit more complicated for me. Is my left hand comfortable reading? Or writing, rather. I used to write with my left hand. Before my stroke, I could write really comfortably and really neatly with my left hand, as long as you didn't consider I was writing mirror image. Now, this is one that some of you will really get a kick out of, and most of you won't, I don't think. This book here, okay, The Hobbit. This is the first book that I ever found. I found it extremely difficult to actually put down. Okay, but I used to write. I used to have the letters memorized. I could actually write in runic. And that is one of those other little goals I will be finishing. You know, that I will be getting back to. Because I found it kind of fascinating. It also, learning another language. You know, for those of you that are starting to get a little older, and for those of you that are really young, and for those of you that are in the middle, something to keep in mind, and this has been clinically proven time and time again. If you take the time to learn a second language, you activate more of your brain, thereby offsetting the potential problems, you know, offsetting the potential problems of that neat thing called, senility or, mental degradation, this sort of thing. Okay, Alzheimer's. If you keep using your brain and learning a new skill, learning a new language is an excellent way to do it. Something else I found out. Okay, I don't do a lot of physical activity, something to do with a bad leg. And right now, my good leg is really screwed up. Okay. Dogface. I'm just reading what Dogface has put here. I started at 20 kilogram dumbbells, which, by the way, for those of you that don't know that, roughly, you're looking at about 50 pounds. Okay. Good afternoon, Starscard. I'm absolutely grateful that you showed up. Welcome aboard. And that little piece of information explains a whole lot. I think the last time I tried doing something, tried bringing my strength up, I wasn't happy. So, of course, I was doing a lot of repetitions. Not a good idea, by the way. Didn't work. Not well. I was doing a lot of repetitions. And it was funny because I talked to, and I'm wearing the shirt that promotes her, which is Sweet Maria. She is a young lass that I know that is struggling really hard. Well, I shouldn't say struggling, but she's working really hard and dedicating her life to becoming the number one baddest as in toughest female in the UFC. This is the goal that she's been aiming for a very long time. Okay, so I do what I can to promote her. Okay, and she's about to move on to a different area, so getting a hold of her is a problem, or could be a problem. But when you take a look at it, okay, I was talking to her and she says, okay, multiple repetition is great for endurance. It's great for stamina. But she goes, if you're looking for strength building, then you do the repetitions. Not a lot of repetitions, just slow repetitions. Okay, I did double check with a couple of other people and they corroborated the same thing. Okay, I appreciate that, Starscard. Now, football. Hey, welcome aboard. Didn't see you sneak in. Okay. I'm glad you made it, though. Where it comes to, I'm not, in all fairness, certain what Farsi or Urdu are, other than obviously their languages. Years ago, I was bored, and I taught myself little bits and pieces of Hausa, which is northern Nigerian trade. I was bored and had access to it. From my standpoint, it boils down to just getting things down. What I do, right? Runic. For me, writing runic. I know a friend of mine when he was in high school. He did an Egyptian section, right? He was writing an Egyptian report. So what did he turn around and do? He wrote his entire Egyptian report in Egyptian hieroglyphics, which is absolutely funnier than heck when you think about it, because his teacher had to go and look up half of what he said. But I've only gone through the first hour of being online here. Okay, and I've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6. I've already got 7 out of 12. And I know these goals are ones that I am going to attain. Grandmaster, how you doing? Glad you got here. Okay. The other thing that I found out, Joe, I agree with you as far as the exercise. I don't know about the a lot more, but it certainly has to be a daily effort. Okay. And one person that lived, they were a strongman competitor. And what they told me was exercise your large muscles one day and your small muscles the next day. So I'm taking all of this information in. I thought about finding an actual fitness instructor, but frankly, trying to find a time that I can schedule is really a joy. And those of you that have asked me to come on your shows, much as I would love to, most of your shows take place while I'm actually on shift at a regular job. But every single goal, whether you think, the problem is, if you believe it's impossible, you're going to run into problems. Okay, that's just pretty much a cut and dry. If you believe it is not, okay, then, if you believe it is impossible, you're going to run into problems. But if you change that word impossible to I'm possible, okay, you'll find that it's easier to attain the goals you're looking for. Now, I'm lucky. I don't have to worry about breaking bad habits aside from spending. And again, where it comes to spending, pick the level you want to be at. Now, it's neat from my end. Okay, for me, it's actually really neat. Okay, I don't look at the dollar value. Somebody tries saying, "Oh, you can make this much money in so little time." I'm like, I don't think you get it. I am not motivated by money. I'm just not. Okay. Do I desire the finer things in life? Absolutely. Am I interested in paying full price for them? Not a prayer. Okay. But I have come to the conclusion that it is time to really focus on taking my life from where it is and turning it completely around into what I desire it to be. Like I told my other half, I get her, she gets cross border. When I first met her, I told her, I said, you want this to work? That's great. I'm open to it. But understand, I'm not moving. Okay, it's just that simple. Jake, how you doing? Didn't actually see you come in. My apologies. I do try and keep an eye on the people coming through the door. When I told her that, it's like, number one, I'm not moving. Number two, I've got a 15-year-old. Now, this is a couple of years ago, in all fairness. I turned around and told her, I said, I've got a 15-year-old with mild CP. If he never moves out, that's the way it is. Okay. Well, she thought about it for about 30 seconds and goes, I can work with it. Here we are 2 years later. Sadly, she's still living south of the border. But I have told her flat out, and this is one of my goals, but I'm not putting a time frame on it because I will not lock her into a time frame. Told her flat out, you come across the border, I will not ask you on the first day, as she's asked me not to. Okay. I said, I will not ask you on the first day, but when you're up here, I will ask you to marry me. And then it becomes up to you. If you say yes, which I hope you will, then I put a ring on your finger. And whether you stay with me after that, that's your issue. But the ring goes home with you. Okay. I said, and for me, that I didn't put a time frame because there's complications, there's challenges that have to be dealt with. But it's a case of one step at a time. Holy mackerel, nothing like turning your life upside down right at the end of the year, eh, Dogface? The neat part about that is as you turn your life upside down, all of a sudden you open up all kinds of new opportunities, and this is a perfect time to do it. Now, I'm just curious. Do I have my... No, I don't, so I'll do it the old-fashioned way, which is 23 minus 17, 28. 10, 5, 11, 9. That ain't going to work very quickly, but we're doing our best anyway. Whoop. 15 minus 7 is 8. I should figure that out. I think what I'm going to do for next week, actually, that's a goal I'm going to put down here. Because I've talked about all sorts of different things over time. But I'm going to talk next week. I'm going to have the calculations done for what I call base 12 numerology. Okay, where the numbers from 1 to 12 are single digit numbers. Now, in essence, it works the same kind of an idea as to the way that standard, what you call standard numerology works, as in numbers 1 to 9. But it works different. The calculations are a lot more complicated. Okay. But from my standpoint, it makes a whole lot more sense. So I am looking at that to discuss, to put that out. I may put it out beforehand, but even if I do, okay, I will be dealing with it next week. So if you've got questions, absolutely, I will be more than open to them, just like I am most of the time. What is next week? This is where things get a little screwy while I try and figure out what day of the week I'm actually on. Hey, I need a date. Thank you. Okay, right now, so next Saturday will be, oh yeah, there we go. Next Saturday, it'll be the 17th. I can do that. Oh, in case you hadn't figured it out, yes, I said I was going to be on the video on Saturdays and Sundays, but in case people didn't put it together, the 24th and the 25th, if I manage to get online at all, consider it a bonus. One of the neat little things that you got to look at with your life is take a look and go, are you happy with your life as it currently is? If the answer is no, and remember, this is, are you happy? Not, is anybody else happy with you? Okay, that is the ultimate thing you've got to look at here. Because I will tell you, people will inevitably not be content with you in some aspect. Okay, and I'm pretty certain that much as I get a lot of support here, and it is getting better in a lot of ways. I'm just curious here. Where are we? Oh, I was working on that before. So let us go back to home here and see what we're sitting at. The reality is there's a lot of shows and there's a lot of people on YouTube right now that are going, I want to get millions and millions of viewers. My goal is quite simply, yes, I look at the number of people that I've got and the number of viewers I've got, of subscribers I've got. The reality is I have no idea how many people overall show up, come in and watch it after the fact. I know it's listed on my dashboard somewhere. Okay, but for me, I look at the number of subscribers because it is, simply put, a quantifiable measurement that I can look at. And it didn't like that much. So we refresh and see if that works. Hey, look at that. We had somebody new. Well, I'm not sure who just subscribed, but thank you so much for that. I was at 331 when I started the show. Today, I'm at 332 now. Okay. The nice little... This is something, Dogface. I'm just looking at this. And one of the side conversations that is... Yeah, isn't that the truth? One thing that people have to realize, and I'm lousy at showing it, okay, every single one of us will get older. Absolutely, you will get older. Okay, but the reality is, it is entirely up to you whether you get old. That is a state of mind. Okay. And I will tell you, Dogface, like Dogface was just mentioning, he's in the country where he can be silly, do his thing, whatever. Okay. Absolutely. I strongly encourage you. And, I encourage myself and fail at it miserably most of the time. But I absolutely encourage people, be silly, put a smile on your face. It is one of the best things you can do for your health. Okay. When you get up in the morning, and we discussed that a little earlier, what to do. But as soon as you get set up in the bedroom, or before you get set up, put a smile on your face. Okay. Number one, it will help you feel better because of some of the chemicals. Now, I'm not going into that your body naturally distributes right away. Okay. But you put a smile. If you do not feel like putting a smile, force it. The physical effort of putting the smile on your face will help put things in track. If you don't even feel like you can force it, get out the makeup and paint a smile on your face. If nothing else, it'll put a smile on other people's face. Now, some people will look at you and just do this sort of thing. But that's not your issue. Now, do not get me wrong. I'm not about to go and get makeup myself. Okay. But putting a smile on your face does make you feel better. Don't believe me? Absolutely don't. Give it a shot and see what happens. Now, it will feel, if you're not used to smiling a whole lot, it will be something that feels a little off kilter, at least to start with. Okay. But again, we get back to this one step at a time. Do something often enough, and muscle memory will make it happen. Okay. The body is a wonderful thing. Now, one of the things I should really look into, one of the things I really should look into is getting a new wardrobe. But the reality is, it's not really that important to me. The things I've got on the 7 things I've got, 1, 2, 3, the 7 things I've got on my list already for completion before the end of 2023 are absolutely very important to me. Okay. Am I working towards improving my subscription list? Absolutely, I am. Okay. It's one of those things. And with that in mind, if you haven't done so already, there's a little button down in the bottom right corner of the video here. If you'd be kind enough to hit subscribe to that to hit that button and subscribe, that would be really appreciated. Because according to the YouTube algorithm, okay, when I get to 1,000 subscribers, okay, what that tells me is the message that I came to pass on, which simply is, okay, it absolutely is simple. Working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody, no matter what your religion, your income, your gender, what you identify with, what nationality you are, what race you are, what species you are. Working together, we can make this a better world, but it is going to require the effort of the greater majority of people. Okay. And yes, absolutely, I feel a lot of the time like I'm walking against the current. Okay. Because I take a look at a lot of the things that are happening going, I'm just not interested in participating in that. That said, oddly enough, I look at this whole thing going on here. Okay. I take a look at the community that's growing here in my channel. That is where that is the group that I get the support from. This one, and of course, like I said, on Spaced Out Radio, because on Spaced Out Radio with the ET Connection, I'm there once a month. I'm going into my 8th year now, I think, with them. Okay. But it's these groups on YouTube that I'm starting to develop some sort of a recognition with, where I'm seeing people that I recognize. Okay. And it really boils down to your guys' support has been absolutely incalculable regarding changing my own life direction. Okay. And again, the show I did with Nathan last night was just phenomenal. It was absolutely a riot. Okay. The reality of it is he picked a time that I could actually go on the show. Okay, because I've got a regular job that I've been doing for the last 22 years now. And for the last 5, I've been on the show. I've been at the same job from for the last 5 years. It's been 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, and sadly, quite often what happens is by about 10:30, I'm tanked, especially in the last month and a half. But when you take a look at any of the goals that you've got, by breaking them down into smaller tasks, okay, like for instance, where I've got this issue of I desire to bring my curling and my weight curling up to 25 pounds by the end of next year. Right now it's at 5. Well, I'm not going from 5 to 25 by the end of January. Okay, I will be working on it daily, and I will bring it up. The next step will be to bring it up to 10 pounds. Because frankly, I don't think if I can bring it up to 7.5, I will. But I don't know if I've got the right weights for it. Okay. Lovey love, I didn't see you come in. My apologies. But I am glad you made it. I'm very happy that you've joined us. The reality of it is, and I know I've been asked a number of times, and I'm going to put this right out there since I just saw his name pop up. Chad has asked me to come on to his show a number of times, and the holdup has been when his show runs. The reality is, Chad, I would love to come on your show. But like I just said, Monday to Friday, 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific, I'm completely off kilter. I'm completely out of the running. Just cannot happen. Now, that said, I got to figure out a way around that. In all honesty, Chad, that one I would be quite willing to deal with. Okay, and for me, Saturday is usually, Saturday during the day or Sunday night. But Saturday during the day is probably the best. And, if we do it during the day, it would actually work better because, let's face it, nothing against you, but one of the biggest things that we have to look at that I take into consideration, and everybody that is out there doing a podcast, it's imperative you look whether you're doing a podcast or you're opening a store of some form, look at your competition. Okay, look at the people who are in the same field that are in that same time slot. Now, let's face it, Dave Scott has something in excess of 15,000 subscribers. Now, the reality is that's where the majority of the information goes. Between him and Art Bell, it's just a nightmare, at least from what I understand. And again, with the people that are running Paranormal Chop Shop, again, any of the chat of the podcasts that are going on, any of these live feeds, I'm absolutely open to, but they have to fit into my schedule because, I don't know about you, but I've got this thing that I like having a roof over my head. I like having food on my table, and I like having the lights on. So my job has to take dominant priority on the scheduling. Joe, I hope you don't see going bald as a bad thing. I like the way somebody put it. I was talking to somebody one day and he goes, God made only a few perfect heads and the rest of them he covered up with hair. So needless to say, mine has got to be a shambles. Because if you think back 10 years ago, I kid you not, my hair was down to here. If you look back at my old videos, even a year ago, it was that bad. Yeah, not a problem there, dog face. You're already bald. I personally don't see a problem with it. I'm just not interested in going there myself. And I'm not entirely certain. Maybe I've gone a little balding back. I have no idea. Don't really care. But, I do hope, Joe, that you guys can set things up so you can actually get to see your grandkids. Okay, I do hope things are getting put in place for that to happen. Because I will tell you, there is nothing, in my opinion. I was watching a movie the other day. My son came in, right? My son comes in. He went to talk to me. He looked at the fact, and I said, I think I said I was watching a show, and I looked at my son when he came in, and he goes, "Oh, you're watching something. I'll come back later." I paused the show. I said, "Look, kiddo," I said, "something you got to realize. That's a movie, bar none. Number one priority for me is you and your brother. That's just the way it is. Everything else can wait. Because to me, if you chose to bring your kids into the world, absolutely treat them properly. You're not raising kids, you're raising adults. In your case, Joe, your daughter's raising the adults. You just get to enjoy the grandkids and hand them back. Although somehow I get the feeling with you that you'd be just as happy hanging on to them. Where are we, Chad? I didn't make a whole lot of leeway yesterday with it. But the lizard I've been working on is coming along nicely. I was working on this yesterday. But understand, I got on to I did my live feed yesterday when I started working on this. And I did it for the 2 hours. Took a half hour out. And this is why I said I had a riot with Nathan yesterday. Just absolutely enjoyed it. Okay. And, I was on the show with him from 7 o'clock until about 11 o'clock at night. And then my system just went, no, I got to call it a day. Oops. No, in all fairness, Chad, that's funny. Chad just posted, my RC truck lit itself on fire. That is true. My hobby will not light itself on fire. Not at all. Okay. But I've got a number of figures. I've got a bunch of them that I'm laying out. This is another one that I'm in the process of doing, and it was kind of an odd thought. But this thing is an Umber Hulk. I've got a little bit of tying off to do. It won't take me long to finish him off. I just have to put the effort into it. Okay. But these are ones I'm in the middle of. So I really have to get around to them. I hope nobody... Now, question for you there. Where are we? Chad, did you actually save the RC? Or did you completely wipe the poor thing out? When I was growing up, I grew up on Vancouver Island. And if you take a look at Vancouver Island, at where I grew up, you had the airbase right here. There was the end of the runway. Okay, right, like here's the end of the runway. You went 50 yards and you had the tree line. As soon as you cut through that tree line, my property was right on the next side. On the other side of the property, of the tree line. Now, here's the thing. Okay. We had, now some of you may recognize this term. Okay. We had F-101s, which were fighter planes. Okay. Also known as the Voodoo. And my dad turned around. Well, my dad, he worked on them. But we had a couple of them take off the runway and their engine lit on fire. Now, a quarter mile down the road was the salt chuck, was the Straits of Juan de Fuca. We had two Voodoos simultaneously take off the runway, and over top of our house, their engines detonated. Okay. Hey, Carl, you got here. Glad to see you arrived. Well, you're a little late, yes, but at least it's not like I've seen sometimes people come in and we're only 5 minutes in. And, we've only got 5 minutes left. Well, I'm still here for another roughly 25, 30 minutes, give or take. Oh, nothing like burning your fingers there, Chad. But no, these two Voodoos flew and took off. The engines didn't just catch fire. They detonated over top of our house. Now, in all fairness, we're talking way back, and I don't honestly remember if we had pieces in the yard or not. Okay, but I'll tell you, the explosion of a fighter plane engine blowing up is enough to get your attention. Okay, but having an RC go, at least if your RC engine if the RC goes in flames, at least it isn't carrying you with it. At least that would be the theory. The reality of it is, again, when you're looking at anything in your life that you're not happy with, doesn't matter what it is. Okay, whatever it is you're not content with, put that on your list. Like the 7 things I've got listed already. Okay, and I've got to go through and make sure I get the other 5 done before the end of December. Okay, whatever you're not content with, this is the time to turn right now. Okay, and I don't mean while you're on the show, while you're sitting here, unless you multitask, which, hey, have a happy. Get a list. Pick 12 things that you're not absolutely 100% content with in your life. This may be simply, it may be your weight, it may be your height. And your height, you're pretty much hooked. Okay. But it might be your weight, it might be your strength level, your fitness level. Maybe it's your wardrobe. Maybe it's the amount of clutter you've got around. Okay. Maybe it's a project that you started that you just haven't finished. Okay. Whatever it is, take a look at the priorities and get your list of 12, not necessarily in the order of priority. Okay, but get your 12 down and start moving everything out of the way that does not work towards meeting those. Now, let us not forget, you still have to keep your daily finances running. Okay, you still have to keep your roof over your head, take care of the normal running of your life. Okay, this is in addition to these 12 goals. Okay, because I'm telling you, we do have the option. We can leave the world going the way it is. That's up to you. It's up to each one of us individually. But whether you're a multimillionaire or whether you are somebody that is just scraping by, doesn't matter one iota. Okay, every one of you has the ability to change your own life. You may not believe it right now. I will grant you that. And this is why I tell you, whether you choose to go back to a church, a temple, a coven, a support group. Okay, for me, the people in here, I find you guys, an absolute bonus with, because I get a lot of support in what I'm working on, in what I'm striving to do. Okay, and find the support where you can get it. Absolutely, I'm going to make a point of the different shows I've been on, or more importantly, really the ones I get invited to, I'm going to be working towards. Oh. Oops. I'm just reading what you wrote there, Dogface. It's kind of funny. Yeah, you were supposed to get the barbecue up and running. Okay, but the question that I always look at is, did they do everything as well that works towards that? Because I'll tell you, my dad used to set barbecues up. Okay, and there's a lot of work to it. I found an easy solution. Go out and buy something that's already made barbecue. I can't cook worth a hoot. Could I take the time to possibly learn how? Certainly. But realistically, with no functional sense of time and or space, and taste buds that basically are useless, okay, working in a kitchen and trying to turn out something that tastes good, I find out if something tastes good when I make something and my son eats more than one plate of it. That's how I tell if I cook something properly. Okay, but everything that is not, if you're not content with your life the way it currently is, this is the time to ask yourself a simple question. Oops. Yeah, isn't it neat, Dogface? When you live in the city, everything seems to be rush, 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 rush. You move out to the country and it's like rush, rush. As we can see, we don't get that far. Okay, I became a recluse a long time ago, so in a lot of ways, I'm sort of on country time. My son's still on city time, so he's got to go. He's choosing to make sure he goes to school to get the education. Okay, and I'm all for it. It's like, okay, I'll support you as best I can to get there. Right, but this whole idea, especially when you think up until, well, that's a benefit that came out of my stroke. I had my stroke on December 28th of 2018. Okay, prior to that, it's all now YJ. I think it's YJ. Okay, I live in Kelowna, and driving from Rutland to downtown is only apparently a 10-15 minute drive. But I could not wrap my brain around it at all. So if I wasn't out of the house at least 45 minutes ahead of time, I'd get panicky that I was going to be late. And I'll tell you, according to my kids, that was a nightmare to live with. After I had the stroke, all of that shifted. I'm still not great with time, but I don't get panicky. I have figured out that it takes X amount of time to get there. So I can work with it. Okay. And again, when we're talking about attaining the unattainable, it really boils down to, the saying is, if you bite off more than you can chew. Well, the trick there is, if you take a look at a goal, at something that you're looking at going, that's unattainable. At this point, there is no way I would be able to functionally curl 100 pounds. No way at all. Okay, but these weights that I showed you here. Okay, these weights. I used to grab a set of weights like this, and I would curl without even blinking 50 pounds in one hand. Matter of fact, I used to work in a country club, and and this is going to look bad, and I can't do much with it. Okay, well, I guess it'll look bad. And now granted, I only put one finger up, but one finger in. We had two kegs go at the same time, and I just put up my middle finger, okay, to put through the center of a beer keg, an empty beer keg. And I picked one up in each hand. I never even slowed down for it. Right now, I don't think I could even get them off the ground with both hands. No, actually, I think the funniest thing, I do appreciate that, Dogface. But I find it really funny. When I had the stroke in 2018, okay, I went in, I couldn't speak, I couldn't talk. I couldn't speak, I couldn't walk. Doctor said, they called it a mild stroke. I'm like, can't speak, can't walk, not great. But when I could walk on the 30th, I told them flat out, I'm going home for the 31st. I'm not staying in the hospital for the 31st of December. What I didn't tell them was why. For the last 20 years, on New Year's Eve, I have sat down with a good friend of mine, and we have gamed every New Year's Eve to bring the new year in. This has been, aside from 4 or 5 years, maybe 6, when he wasn't in the city. Okay, we have sat down, we have gamed every New Year's Eve. That's how we brought the new year in. And I'm not missing New Year's Eve. I'm going home. Okay, well, I got out on a day pass for New Year's Eve. Couldn't walk, couldn't talk when I got in there on the 18th. On the 28th. Got in there on the 28th. 3 days later, the doctor cut me loose to go home on a day pass. So I showed up at home, and my friend looks at me and goes, you made it. I said, this is gaming night. I am not spending my New Year's Eve in the hospital for anybody. It's just not happening. Now, I call some people call me a diehard gamer. That may be why. Okay. I didn't tell the doctors the reason I was going home was because I had a game to attend. I drive. I just don't drive a lot. I choose not to drive at night much anymore. I choose not to drive during into rush hour traffic much. But that's my choice. I've still got a license. Right. I actually shocked myself when I went in and got my license renewed just this year. They gave me a 5-year with no questions. It's like, here you go. But any goal that you've got, break it down into smaller tasks. Like these 7 that I've already listed, and these are my goals, not yours. Make your own list. Okay. But now, of course, if you happen to be doing the same sort of thing, that's great. I will have book 12 fully edited and in print before the end of next year. In all fairness, my goal is to have it out before right at the end of winter, as in March 21st. Same thing with the second printing of Races of the Worlds. That bad, eh, YJ? YJ just put in the chat room here. He goes, they took a pic for my license. It makes me look like I saw my grandparents naked or something. I mean, that unfortunately is one of those things that you just cannot, that you just can't unsee, assuming you physically see that. But no, so I will have those 2 out by the end of spring. Before the end of 2023, I will be down under the 180. Okay, under the 180 pound mark. Now, I aimed for myself to make it under 200 pounds by the end of 2022. Mission accomplished. Managed to make it there. Right now, as of this morning, 193.4. So I will, and don't ask me what that is in kilos. Okay. Yes, I'm Canadian, but that doesn't mean I think in kilos. Okay. I will be able to, and right now I'm only at 5 pounds. By the end of 2023, I will be able to curl 25 per hand without a problem. Okay. As well as I will be debt free. I'll be able to write comfortably with my left hand again. This is exactly the case, YJ. Okay. That wouldn't be a surprise. I just don't. I need a calculator. I know if I want to figure it out, I grab a calculator because 2.245 pounds per kilo. Okay. I believe that's right. And then, of course, if you're looking for by the inch, you're looking at what is it now? No. Okay, I've lost the measurement offhand, and I'll just drop it there. Okay. But I'm going to remind myself how to write left-handed. Granted, I'm not going to bother learning to write right and left-handed properly. I'm going to remind myself how to write left-handed mirror image. That's the way it comes out. And I will remind myself how to write runic. I used to be able to read it. Now, of course, here's the thing. Because my other half is blind, absolutely blind, okay, I won't, because I've got no sense of functional touch in my fingers, I certainly won't teach myself to read Braille by fingers. But I have determined that once she gets up here, if not before, I will teach myself, or through her, I will learn to read Braille by hand. And again, like I said, it boils down to deciding what is important to you. Okay, these are goals for me. Oh, understandable. Here's an easy calculation for you, YJ. The easy calculation from Celsius, and this gives you a ballpark, from Celsius to Fahrenheit. You take your Celsius temperature, you double it, and you add 32. Okay. Now, needless to say, well, maybe, if you're aiming at going from Fahrenheit back to Celsius, take your Fahrenheit measurement, your Fahrenheit temperature, subtract 32, and cut the remainder in half. Those are ballpark. And if I had I do have my calculator. No, that's kilometers. I used to know the measurement and the actual calculation for the accurate translation, but those are ballpark, so they at least tell you about where you're fitting. Okay, that overall is the easiest way to do it. Yes. Which is really neat when you look at it, because that's one of those. That's why I call it a average. So in Celsius, water boils at 100 and freezes at 0. Yes. In Fahrenheit, it freezes at 32 and boils at I think 212. Okay, like it's a little bit strange, you know. But ballpark, it works like an absolute charm. It gives you something to work with. I remember a couple of years ago, there was a group of people, and this just floored me. Had a group of a tour group that came in. They came from tour buses from Texas, California, and apologies to you down in the States, but either the one or two states that fit between those two, because I frankly don't recall which ones are there. But from Texas to California, these tour buses came up. Now, they all went through travel agents. Every one of the travel agents told them, make sure, now this is in the middle of August. Okay. Now, if you've been in Canada, especially in the Okanagan in August, you'll understand this little problem. But they were told, make sure that when you go, make sure to pick up winter clothing, because it's 90 degrees here right now. But when you cross the border into Canada, you're going to drop to 40. Well, they got here and they were all mad. And I'm like, what are you guys upset with? So, of course, a bunch of them told me, well, this is where we came from, and this is what the travel agents in 3 or 4 states told them. Right? And they turned around, they came up here, and they said, it was 90 where we were, and it was going to drop to 40. I says, thank heavens it did. Last week it was 43. And a bunch of them looked at me, and it's like, what do you mean it was 43? I said, and then I stopped. I says, oh, wait a minute. You guys think in Fahrenheit. Well, yeah. I says, we think in Celsius. Right. So I said, rough ballpark. Okay, it's 40. But for you, that's 112. Understand, in Kelowna, we're living in a desert. Okay. Dog face. Yeah. What was I looking at here? Yeah, you were working at 43 Celsius. I gotta ask Dogface, whereabouts are you? Just because I'm curious. I mean, I'm in Kelowna. The worst one I was ever at was down in Oliver. I was there about a decade ago now, and they hit 47 in the shade. Now, I'll tell you, if you do just a quick calculation, 94, 96, you're looking at about 126 in the shade. But like I said, we live in a desert. Okay, as in we have sagebrush inside city limits. And yes, if you're silly enough to go walking amongst it, you will run into rattlesnakes. Granted, not usually where the apartment buildings are. But whatever the goal is that you happen to have, doesn't matter what it is, break it down into smaller goals. Now, before the end of 2022, I will have added my other 5 goals for completion by the end of 2023. I strongly encourage you to do the same thing. Okay, very important from my standpoint that realistically, like I said, the video family that's growing here, I absolutely appreciate every single one of you for showing up. We've got a massive job to do. If we leave society in the state it's in right now, never mind our own life. Okay, I'll be out of here in 60, 70, maybe 80 years. And yes, I know how bad that sounds. I'm 59 now, but I'm still aiming to see the 22nd century in this body in a reasonable state. Okay. But my concern at this point is not my own life. Well, in all fairness, it's seldom in my own life. But we have an obligation to the people coming behind us. The idea, in my opinion, has always been the world you're in, leave a mark on it that leaves it in better balance, in better shape than what it was when you got here. Okay. Absolutely. We get black, and YJ's just saying, yeah, we've also got black widows in Kelowna. We do. We also have, what are they called? Wolf spiders. Really nice people and really nice animals. Okay. But this is just part of life. Now, needless to say, and I'm sure you'll agree, YJ, some spiders, little jumping spiders, they're great for taking out flies and what have you. Black widows, no, you don't relocate them. You just take them out of the picture because they'll kill people. That's one place I long ago decided that if I ever had the opportunity, and I don't know if it's much of anything out there, but it's something I've always looked at and gone, good afternoon, Eris. Glad you can make it. Just unwind down here. Don't take that personally, whatever you do. Animals on the whole, you treat them with respect, they'll treat you with respect. But you got to remember, they're animals. Okay. I just don't like black widows in my house. Something about I don't like being bitten on occasion. I like being bitten ever, in all fairness. Not that I'm aware of. But starting right now, and realistically, this should have started a long time ago, but something I am really encouraging people to do. It is time we work together. Take the negative side of what we know and let go of the negative things that have happened. This does not mean forget them. It means focus on the positive ones. Okay, because the reality is that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everyone. Now, I am happy to say that after Frank got finished working with my computer, the camera that I used to use, well, I was using it all along. The one my computer said doesn't exist on my computer. Frank got it working, which means during the week, I will be able to put shorter videos up, but I will still be back here on, wait a minute. Let me just double check that because my mind just went blank on dates. Oh, today's only the 11th. So yeah, I will be back next Saturday and Sunday at 4:30 p.m. PST. The following weekend, I wouldn't hold my breath. That's Christmas. Okay, but thank you all so much. What isn't legal in Canada at this point? In all fairness, Joe, I really don't know I mean, there's a lot of things that are legal in Canada that are illegal other places. This much I know. Well, yes, that's very true. As a matter of fact, funny thing there, lovey love. A friend of mine went over to Sweden. Turns out that BC, which is where I am, British Columbia, has its own brand of weed. In Sweden, they call it BC Bud. Okay, but we have developed our brand so well that it is recognized as an actual strain. But I do want to say thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. I thank you all so much for joining me today, and I do look forward to seeing you again. I will do what I can to put up short videos through the week, but I will be back next Saturday and Sunday from 4:30 p.m. At 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. So I do hope to see you all there. Until then, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.